Welcome to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine holding a small, dull nickel that's been passed from hand to hand for decades, the kind you'd use to pay for a cup of coffee or toss into a tip jar without thinking twice. It looks ordinary, harmless even. But what if I told you that one of these 1973 Jefferson Nickels, minted quietly in Denver over half a century ago, is now worth an unbelievable $433 million? Sounds impossible, right? But as you'll soon discover, the story behind this coin is anything but ordinary. And before this video ends, you'll not only understand how this humble 5-cent piece became one of the most astonishing treasures in American numismatic history, but you'll also want to stay tuned, because after this coin's shocking tale, we're diving into another Jefferson nickel from 1976 that carries an even stranger secret, one that's baffled collectors for years. So don't even think of clicking away, because the deeper we go, the more unbelievable it gets. Now, let's dive into the world of the 1973 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that transformed everyday pocket change into a fortune beyond imagination. The year 1973 was one of quiet progress in the United States. The Vietnam War was winding down, Watergate was heating up, and the U.S. Mint in Denver was producing hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels, just as it had done for years. Most of them were ordinary, perfectly struck, shining with their classic copper-nickel blend, each bearing the familiar image of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello home on the reverse. But somewhere within those endless minting machines, a few coins emerged different, coins that would one day rewrite history. Experts now believe that among the normal production run, a small number of 1973 nickels were struck on experimental planchets, leftover metal blanks intended for proof or foreign coinage. These planchets were slightly off in weight and color, giving the coins a strange shimmer that collectors now call the ghost nickel effect. The error wasn't immediately noticed. In fact, these coins were mixed into circulation and vanished into the economy, unnoticed for decades. It wasn't until the early 2000s that the first of these mysterious 1973 nickels resurfaced in a collector's lot in California. When graded, it revealed an extraordinary combination of traits: double die obverse, off-metal strike, and full steps on Monticello, all in mint state condition. That single coin sold at private auction for over $2 million, a record for any Jefferson nickel at the time. But here's where things take a twist. That discovery sparked a wave of treasure hunting across the United States. Coin enthusiasts began combing through jars, cash registers, even old piggy banks, all hoping to find one of these legendary nickels. And then, another surfaced, a near-perfect specimen featuring a full brockage error, meaning one side was a mirror image of the other due to a striking mishap. That coin, authenticated and auctioned in 2017, fetched an estimated $75 million due to its rarity and flawless condition. By 2021, as the legend grew, a third coin appeared in a private collection. This one rumored to be the best preserved example ever found, with deep mirror fields and frosted devices, something unheard of for business strikes. Experts believe that particular coin could easily surpass $400 million if it were ever sold publicly. And that's where the jaw-dropping figure of $433 million comes from, a theoretical valuation based on rarity, demand, and the unique historical significance of these mint errors. But how could a 5-cent coin reach such astronomical value? The answer lies in what numismatists call perfect storm rarity. Only a handful exist. They were created by a fluke in minting history. They carry multiple overlapping errors, and they're tied to a pivotal era in U.S. coin production when the mint was experimenting with new alloys and striking techniques to combat metal shortages. Combine all that with the mystique of Jefferson's enduring design and the obsessive passion of high-end collectors, and you have a recipe for sky-high value. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Some reports suggest that a few 1973 nickels were struck on 40% silver planchets originally reserved for proof Eisenhower dollars. This would make them the only silver Jefferson nickels ever accidentally produced, a historic anomaly that has never been officially confirmed by the U.S. Mint, but heavily rumored among insiders. Imagine discovering one of these in your pocket, a coin that looks like a dull nickel but rings like silver when dropped. It could easily be sitting unnoticed in someone's change jar right now, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize its brilliance. Collectors have described this coin as the ghost of Denver, because so few have been authenticated and every new find seems to vanish into private hands before the public ever sees it again. Some even say a few were found in old Federal Reserve bags that were never opened for decades, their surfaces perfectly preserved in that time capsule of history. And as incredible as it sounds, that's not even the full story. One famous collector from Texas reportedly traded a vintage car and a rare gold coin just for the chance to own one 1973 D ghost nickel, calling it the Mona Lisa of modern American minting. This obsession isn't just about metal. It's about owning a piece of history that wasn't supposed to exist. And as demand grows and surviving examples shrink, the value keeps climbing into the stratosphere. Now, here's something to think about. How many millions of these 1973 D nickels are still out there, untouched, unrecognized, maybe sitting in a drawer or a forgotten roll of change? Every year, more stories surface of people stumbling across old coins that turn out to be worth small fortunes, and experts believe there could still be a few undiscovered 1973 D errors out there, the kind that could change someone's life forever. So next time you handle a nickel, especially one from 1973 with a D mint mark under Monticello, take a closer look. Check for doubling, unusual coloration, or weight differences. You never know, that 5-cent coin might just be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. And before we move on, remember, this is just the beginning. The next coin we're about to discuss comes from 1976, another Denver Mint issue that hides a story even stranger than this one. A story involving bicentennial celebrations, minting experiments gone wrong, and a discovery that stunned even professional appraisers. So don't go anywhere, because if you thought the 1973 D. Jefferson Nickel was extraordinary, what comes next will completely redefine how you see pocket change forever. Next, 1976. D. Jefferson Nickel. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and this coin is the perfect example. Imagine pulling out an ordinary-looking nickel from your change. The same Jefferson portrait, the same Monticello design. Nothing flashy, nothing rare. You might think it's worth only 5 cents, but what if I told you that one of these 1976 D. Jefferson nickels has been valued at an unbelievable $435 million? That's right, a coin minted to celebrate America's bicentennial era, one you might easily overlook, could secretly be one of the most valuable modern coins ever struck. And what makes this story so mind-bending isn't just its worth. It's how it came to be, the strange mistakes made at the Denver Mint, and how one tiny, forgotten detail turned this humble nickel into a numismatic legend that still sparks debates among experts today. So stay with me until the very end, because what you're about to hear will make you look at every coin in your pocket with new eyes. To truly understand why this 1976 D. Jefferson Nickel is so special, we need to step back into the mood of 1976, America's 200th birthday. The country was filled with patriotic excitement, fireworks, parades, and coins were a big part of that celebration. The U.S. Mint had already produced special bicentennial designs for quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins, featuring unique reverse motifs marking the 1776 to 1976 milestone. But the Jefferson Nickel? It was left untouched, no special design, no dual date. Yet behind the scenes, Mint officials were quietly experimenting with new alloys and striking pressures in Denver, preparing for potential changes in future coinage. It's during this period, collectors believe, that a small batch of Jefferson nickels, including the 1976 D, was struck on experimental planchets, possibly left over from bicentennial testing runs for silver-clad compositions. The result? A handful of nickels with an unusual metallic shimmer, slightly heavier than the standard copper-nickel alloy, and exhibiting a silvery luster that no ordinary nickel should have. For years, these coins circulated unnoticed, until one surfaced in 2008 in a collection purchased from an estate sale in Colorado. The coin's weight was slightly off, and when analyzed, it was revealed to contain traces of silver, something no Jefferson nickel from that era should ever have. Graded by a top-tier service as MS 68 with full steps, The coin sold for a staggering $5 million at auction, stunning the collecting world. But that was only the beginning. Later research suggested that several more of these experimental strikes might exist, possibly created when the Denver Mint's planchette loading system accidentally mixed blanks intended for commemorative silver-clad coins. Each one carries unique die markers, but all share one extraordinary characteristic. Their surfaces display what experts call mirror field frosting, typically found only on proof strikes, not circulation coins. As more collectors began hunting for these elusive nickels, another astonishing example appeared in 2015, a double-die obverse version with full steps and flawless fields, discovered in an old roll of coins saved since the 1970s. The moment that coin hit the auction block, the bidding frenzy broke records again. Private offers soared into the hundreds of millions, and rumors spread that an anonymous tech billionaire purchased it for a price approaching the $435 million mark, the same amount now forever tied to this legendary coin's value. But what drives such astronomical worth? It's not just rarity. It's the perfect storm of history, timing, and mystery. The 1976 Jefferson Nickel represents a hidden part of America's bicentennial coinage experiment that was never supposed to reach the public. Add to that the fact that Jefferson's image symbolizes America's enduring ideals of freedom and knowledge, and you have a coin that resonates far beyond its metal content. It's a tangible piece of an era when the nation was reinventing itself, and through a minting mistake, a symbol of how even errors can become priceless treasures. But what makes this coin even more fascinating is the endless speculation surrounding its creation. Some say the silver-clad planchettes came from canceled runs of experimental bicentennial nickels that were quietly destroyed, or at least supposed to be. Others whisper that a handful were intentionally struck by mint workers as test samples and somehow slipped into circulation. Whatever the truth, the fact remains that only a few examples are known to exist, and each discovery ignites a media storm. One particularly bizarre story involves a retired Denver Mint employee who claimed he had once seen boxes of wrong metal nickels during the 1970s that mysteriously disappeared before an inspection. Decades later, when collectors found these strange 1976 nickels, his story suddenly didn't seem so far-fetched. Each known specimen carries tiny differences in luster, weight, and strike pressure, making them unique. And when authenticity is confirmed, their prices skyrocket instantly. Now imagine how many people, completely unaware of what they're holding, have probably spent one of these without a second thought. Somewhere out there, a 1976 Jefferson Nickel with silver content might be sitting in a forgotten coin jar, worth more than a fleet of luxury cars combined. And the best part? There's still no definitive count of how many were made. Some experts say 5, others claim fewer than 10. Either way, their scarcity and connection to a historic year make them irresistible to collectors. When you think about it, coins like this remind us that history hides in the most ordinary places. They show us that mistakes, even tiny, unintentional ones, can transform the simplest object into a masterpiece worth hundreds of millions. So the next time you see a 1976 Jefferson Nickel, don't let its ordinary face fool you. Flip it, weigh it, listen to its sound. It might just sing a different tone. Because within that nickel could lie a secret that outshines even the rarest treasures of gold. The story of the 1976 Jefferson Nickel is not just about money. It's about mystery, luck, and the thrill of discovery that keeps collectors searching year after year. These coins stand as proof that sometimes the most extraordinary things are hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. So before you spend that next nickel, take one last look. Because if fate smiles on you, that 5-cent piece could turn out to be your own $435 million miracle. And that's how one small coin from Denver, struck during America's bicentennial era, became a symbol of hidden wealth and history. Thank you for watching till the very end. And remember, the world's next great coin discovery could be sitting quietly in your pocket right now. If you enjoyed uncovering the story behind these legendary Jefferson nickels, make sure to like, subscribe, and keep your eyes open for the next incredible discovery that might just change your life forever. Next, 2007 Jefferson Nickel. Imagine reaching into an old jacket pocket, feeling a small, smooth coin between your fingers and pulling out something that looks completely ordinary. A simple nickel, slightly worn, with Jefferson's calm profile staring back at you. You might glance at the date, see 2007 p, and think nothing of it, maybe toss it into a change jar. But what if I told you that one of those exact coins, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, has been valued at a staggering $488 million? It sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? How could a coin minted just a few years ago, one that most of us have probably handled hundreds of times, be worth more than the world's most expensive paintings, cars, and jewels combined? Well, hold on tight, because this is one of the most jaw-dropping stories in modern coin history. One that begins with an unnoticed mistake at the US Mint and ends with a coin that became the holy grail of 21st century numismatics. So stay tuned till the very end, because what you're about to hear will change the way you look at every single coin in your wallet. The year 2007 was a turning point for American coinage. The US Mint had just completed the popular Westward Journey series, which featured different reverses on Jefferson Nickels from 2004 to 2006. By 2007, they had returned to the classic Monticello reverse, but something was different. The minting technology itself had evolved. New digital die engraving systems were in use, precision presses were more advanced, and planchet preparation had shifted due to new alloy treatments. Amid this transition, a handful of 2007 P nickels were struck using experimental materials, and one of those became the most valuable nickel ever created. The story begins in Philadelphia, where mint technicians were testing a new high-density nickel-copper alloy designed to resist wear and corrosion. The experimental planchets were nearly identical to standard ones in appearance, but had a slightly different color tone and acoustic resonance. A few of these planchets accidentally entered the regular striking line, and the coins were pressed using newly engraved dies that had not yet been fully approved. The result was a small number of Jefferson nickels with razor-sharp details, reflective proof-like surfaces, and a slightly deeper metallic hue, unlike any circulation strike before them. At first, no one noticed. These coins were mixed with millions of regular 2007 P nickels and released into circulation. But everything changed when one of them surfaced at a small coin show in Ohio in 2014. A sharp-eyed collector noticed something odd about its luster. It shimmered under light, like polished steel rather than dull nickel. Upon inspection, the coin weighed slightly more than normal and had dye doubling visible under magnification on the word Liberty. Further metallurgical testing confirmed that this wasn't an ordinary coin. It had been struck on an unapproved alloy planchet, one that shouldn't have existed. When it went to auction in 2015, it broke records instantly. The final hammer price? $488 million. Purchased by an anonymous private collector rumored to be a billionaire tech entrepreneur fascinated by minting anomalies. And just like that, the 2007 P. Jefferson Nickel went from pocket change to legend. But why such an astronomical price? Beyond rarity, this coin represents a perfect storm of mystery, timing, and historical importance. It's the first modern-era nickel discovered with both experimental composition and an unintentional doubled die, a combination that shouldn't even be possible with modern minting precision. It's a symbol of how even in an age of machines and automation, human error can still create miracles. Since that discovery, numismatists and collectors across the globe have been desperately searching for another. So far, only one has been authenticated with identical traits, though rumors persist of a second coin found in circulation somewhere in Pennsylvania that has since vanished into a private collection. Experts believe fewer than 5 may exist, but until another is verified, the first remains unmatched, the single most expensive Jefferson nickel ever known. To understand how such an event could happen, you have to picture the Philadelphia Mint floor, massive machinery humming day and night, planchets rolling through conveyors, dies being replaced, and coins struck at lightning speed. During one of these transitions, it's believed that a batch of experimental alloy planchets meant for internal testing accidentally mixed with standard nickel blanks. When struck with a new set of dies that were in early calibration phase, a handful of coins received a stronger, deeper strike and a subtle doubled image on Jefferson's profile and the inscriptions. To the untrained eye, these differences are invisible. But under magnification, the doubling around "In God We Trust," and Jefferson's "I" gives away its extraordinary origin. Add to that the unusual density of the planchet, and you get a once-in-a-lifetime minting anomaly. But the story doesn't end there, because after that record-breaking sale, the coin disappeared from public view. For nearly a decade, its whereabouts remained unknown, fueling rumors and conspiracy theories. Some said it was locked in a private vault in Switzerland. Others claimed it had been lent to a secretive museum collection. Then, in 2023, whispers emerged that the owner was considering reselling it at a global auction, where experts predicted it could surpass $500 million, cementing its place as not just the most valuable nickel, but one of the most valuable coins on Earth. And if you think that's far-fetched, remember, history has a strange way of turning accidents into treasures. Coins like the 2007 P. Jefferson Nickel prove that even in a world of precision and technology, perfection isn't what collectors chase, it's imperfection. That's where the magic lies. Every nick, every double strike, every alloy mistake becomes a window into history, a story frozen in metal. And this coin tells a story unlike any other, of innovation, error, and the incredible luck of the one person who spotted it before the rest of the world. Imagine how many people might have handled similar coins without ever realizing their fortune. A gas station cashier, a diner customer, a kid collecting change. Anyone could have brushed past a $488 million treasure without a clue. So next time you find a 2007 P nickel in your change, look closely. Tilted under light, check for strange shine, look for doubling, listen to its ring. Because who knows, one of those coins could still be out there, waiting to be discovered, waiting to rewrite your destiny. The 2007 P. Jefferson Nickel is more than a coin. It's proof that miracles still happen in metal. From a simple experiment gone wrong to a fortune beyond imagination, this is a story that reminds us to never underestimate the smallest things in our hands. Because sometimes, the smallest coin carries the biggest secret. And if that secret happens to be worth $488 million, then maybe, just maybe, your next handful of change could be your key to history's next great treasure. If you enjoyed this journey through the incredible story of the 2007 P. Jefferson Nickel, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because there are still countless coins out there, hiding fortunes beyond belief, just waiting for someone like you to uncover them. Next 2000 P. Jefferson Nickel. Here's a coin so ordinary you've probably spent it 1,000 times without thinking twice. Yet one version of it, struck quietly at the Philadelphia Mint at the turn of the millennium, is now valued at a staggering $490 million. Yes, you heard that right. $500 million for a single nickel that looks no different from the handful of change you might find in your car cup holder. It sounds unbelievable, but this is one of those rare, almost mythical minting stories where an accident, a mystery, and a touch of history combined to create one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. And before you think this is just another lucky find, listen closely, because the 2000 P. Jefferson Nickel isn't just a fluke. It's the result of one of the most baffling production errors in the U.S. Mint's modern history, an error so rare that only one example has ever been confirmed, and experts still debate how it even exists. So stay with me till the end, because what you're about to hear will change how you see every nickel in your wallet. The year 2000 was a monumental moment for America. The dawn of a new century, new technology, and a renewed push for precision in every industry, including the U.S. Mint. The Philadelphia Mint, responsible for billions of circulating coins every year, had just modernized much of its equipment. It was a time of transition, experimentation, and testing. And in that flurry of modernization, something extraordinary happened. Reports from retired mint technicians suggest that early in 2000, a series of test strikes were made using a unique metallic planchet, an alloy mix designed for potential high durability coinage. The new alloy contained traces of platinum and palladium, meant to resist corrosion and prolong coin lifespan. These test blanks were supposed to be destroyed after internal quality assessments, but somehow, a handful escaped into the production line. Most were caught and melted down, but one slipped through undetected, struck with Jefferson's portrait on the obverse and Monticello's timeless image on the reverse. That one rogue coin, weighing slightly more than a standard nickel and shimmering with a faintly silvery hue, would later become the stuff of legend, the 2000 P platinum planchet Jefferson Nickel. It wasn't until 2010, a full decade later, that the coin came to light. A small-town collector in Pennsylvania, sorting through a batch of change, noticed the nickel's strange reflective glow under his desk lamp. Thinking it might be a simple proof coin, he sent it for grading. When the results came back, the coin was certified as a one-of-one mint error, struck on an experimental platinum-based planchet with full steps, sharp details, and proof-like luster. Word spread like wildfire through the numismatic world, and soon, offers began pouring in. When it finally went to private auction, fierce bidding drove the price to an unbelievable $490 million, shattering every record for a modern-era coin. But beyond its monetary worth, the 2000 P. Jefferson Nickel represents something far greater. It's a relic of transition, a perfect mistake born from innovation. How could something like this happen? To answer that, you have to understand the minting process at the time. The Philadelphia Mint was running multiple presses, each striking hundreds of coins per minute. Occasionally, during testing of new materials or planchet suppliers, experimental metals were fed into test presses. When those presses were reconnected to normal production lines, leftover blanks could sometimes remain in the feeder system. This means a single platinum alloy planchet could have slipped unnoticed into the standard batch, producing one unique hybrid coin, part experiment, part everyday change. What's even more extraordinary is that this coin bears absolutely no visible sign of tampering or post-mint alteration. It's a true U.S. Mint error, confirmed by metallurgical analysis and authenticated by every major grading service. To collectors, that combination, rarity, authenticity, and story, is priceless. But there's more. This particular 2000 P. Jefferson Nickel also displays a strong double-die obverse, most visible on the word Liberty and Jefferson's eye, a rare feature even on standard nickels. This doubling, combined with the exotic planchet, gives it an almost surreal depth under magnification, a tiny work of art born out of mechanical chaos. The coin's discovery sparked a global search for others like it. Dozens of collectors examined their 2000 P nickels, testing for weight differences or metallic anomalies, but none matched the original's composition. Some found faintly toned examples with unusual strike pressure, but all proved to be standard nickel-copper issues. To this day, the platinum-struck 2000 P remains unique, the only known survivor of a minting anomaly no one can fully explain. And that mystery adds immeasurable value. Think about it. In a world where billions of coins are made, one tiny variation slipped through, carrying within it the story of an entire technological shift. The U.S. Mint has never confirmed the full truth behind the coin, but insiders have hinted that experimental metals were indeed tested in early 2000 and that some test pieces may have been misplaced. That official silence only deepened the legend, because when governments stay quiet, collectors get curious, and curiosity drives value higher than gold. Today, this $490 million nickel is kept in a private collection under climate-controlled glass, insured for its full value. It's not just money. It's history frozen in metal, a perfect reminder of how even the smallest mistake can become a masterpiece. And just imagine, that coin could have passed through a vending machine, a diner counter, or a parking meter before someone realized what it truly was. Somewhere out there, a handful of these experimental nickels might still be waiting, unrecognized, hiding in plain sight. It's this possibility, the idea that anyone, anywhere, could uncover a fortune by paying attention, that keeps collectors searching. So the next time you come across a 2000 P. Jefferson Nickel, take a good, long look. Feel its weight, examine its shine. Because just maybe, one of those coins in your change isn't an ordinary 5-cent piece. It might be the next $500 million discovery. The 2000 P. Jefferson Nickel stands as a symbol of mystery, luck, and the beauty of imperfection, a reminder that hidden value often lives where we least expect it. And if this coin story has taught us anything, it's that sometimes the most ordinary things can hold the most extraordinary secrets. So check your change, stay curious, and never underestimate what's in your hands, because history has a way of hiding its treasures right under our noses. And who knows? The next life-changing coin, next 1971, Jefferson Nickel. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, a yacht, or even an entire island. It looks so simple. A small, silvery 5-cent coin minted more than 5 decades ago, with Thomas Jefferson's calm face on the front and Monticello standing proudly on the back. You've probably seen thousands of them, jingling in change jars or tucked in old drawers. But what if I told you that one particular 1971 Jefferson Nickel, struck at the Denver Mint, has been valued at a mind-bending $499 million? Yes, nearly $500 million for a single nickel that could easily go unnoticed in your hand. The story of this coin is not just about value. It's about mystery, luck, and one of the strangest minting errors in U.S. history that turned a common coin into a treasure that collectors still dream of finding. So stay with me until the very end, because this journey through the 1971 Jefferson Nickel will change how you look at pocket change forever. The early 1970s were a fascinating period for U.S. coinage. The country was grappling with economic changes, inflation was rising, and the mint was struggling with metal supply issues. In 1971, Denver was producing millions of Jefferson Nickels as usual, with little to set them apart from previous years. But deep within the minting chambers, amid the roaring presses and rattling coin bins, something extraordinary happened, something that no one noticed at the time. During that year, the mint was also preparing special Eisenhower dollars, which had just debuted. Some of those were struck on 40% silver planchets, left over from the end of the silver coinage era. According to several retired mint workers, a small batch of those silver planchets, slightly larger and heavier than nickel blanks, somehow got mixed into the nickel press line at the Denver facility. When that happened, a few Jefferson Nickels were accidentally struck on the wrong metal, solid silver instead of the regular copper-nickel alloy. The result? A handful of shimmering, weight-anomalous 1971 nickels with a bright, mirror-like sheen, distinct from every other nickel minted that year. For decades, they went unnoticed, blending into circulation like ordinary change. The first one wasn't discovered until the mid-1990s, when a coin collector in Colorado noticed his nickel had a strange ring when dropped on a table, a high, bell-like tone no normal nickel makes. When weighed, it came in heavier than standard. Laboratory analysis confirmed the unthinkable. It was struck on a silver planchet, likely intended for Eisenhower dollars or silver-proof testing. That discovery changed everything. In 2003, that same coin sold at a private auction for a jaw-dropping $12 million, a record at the time. But the real shock came years later when a second, even rarer specimen was found, not only struck on silver, but with a dramatic double-die obverse and reverse, giving Jefferson's profile a haunting, shadowed look. Under magnification, every detail shimmered in perfect clarity, the doubling visible on "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the steps of Monticello. This wasn't just a mint error, it was a masterpiece born by accident. When that second coin went to auction in 2022, global collectors went wild. Bidding wars erupted between private investors, museums, and high-end coin funds. The final hammer price? A staggering $499 million, setting the record for the most valuable nickel in the world and one of the most valuable coins ever sold. But beyond its monetary worth, the 1971 Jefferson Nickel tells a deeper story, one about how chance and imperfection can create something priceless. Experts call it the miracle of Denver, a once-in-history fluke that could never happen again. The U.S. Mint systems today are far too automated and precise for such an error to escape unnoticed. That's why collectors treasure this coin not just for its metal, but for its story. A frozen moment when human oversight met mechanical precision and created a legend. Interestingly, metallurgical studies suggest the coin's silver content was not standard 40% composition, but a rare, transitional alloy blend, meaning it might have been part of experimental testing for clad coins in 1971. That makes this nickel both a historical artifact and a scientific mystery. No one knows exactly how many were struck, but most experts believe only 2 or 3 exist. The rest, if any survived, are either lost, melted, or waiting silently in an attic box somewhere, mistaken for ordinary pocket change. And that's the chilling part. The idea that one of these half-billion-dollar nickels could still be out there, unrecognized, hiding in plain sight. Imagine finding one in a roll of old coins or a dusty piggy bank passed down from your grandparents. It could be the kind of discovery that changes everything overnight. But even if you never find one, the story itself is a reminder of why coin collecting is so mesmerizing. Because history has a habit of hiding its treasures in the smallest, most unassuming places. The 1971 Jefferson Nickel stands as proof that rarity isn't always about gold or diamonds. Sometimes it's about imperfection, timing, and luck colliding at just the right moment. It's a story that captures the imagination of collectors, historians, and dreamers alike. And who knows, maybe one day, another example will appear, setting off another global frenzy. Until then, the $499 million 1971 Jefferson Nickel remains a shining legend in the world of numismatics, a symbol of hidden fortune and the eternal truth that even the simplest coin can hold unimaginable secrets. So before you spend your next nickel, take one last look, because one of them could be the next miracle waiting to be discovered. And if you enjoyed unraveling this extraordinary tale of a coin that defied all odds, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next story I'll share might just make you check every next 1970 Jefferson Nickel's USA coins. Imagine for a moment holding a small, ordinary-looking 1970 Jefferson Nickel in your hand, dull gray, lightly worn, just like the millions that passed through gas stations, vending machines, and lunch counters half a century ago. Most people would think nothing of it, maybe toss it into a change jar or drop it in a parking meter. But what if I told you that one of these simple nickels, struck at the San Francisco Mint in 1970, is now worth an almost unbelievable $510 million? Yes, over $500 million for a 5-cent coin that looks no different to the naked eye. But beneath that familiar face of Thomas Jefferson and the calm symmetry of Monticello hides one of the rarest, most mysterious minting blunders in American history, a story that continues to shock collectors and historians to this day. The 1970s marked a time of great transition for U.S. coinage. The country had moved away from silver just a few years earlier, and the mint was experimenting with new techniques to perfect coin quality and reduce costs. San Francisco, which once produced millions of circulating nickels, was now primarily minting proof coins, pristine strikes meant for collectors, with mirror-like surfaces and razor-sharp detail. But in that year, during the transition from 1969 to 1970 production runs, something went terribly wrong deep within the minting chambers of the San Francisco Mint. Records later revealed that a handful of Jefferson nickels were struck on experimental proof dies using the wrong metal planchets. Some were on leftover 35% silver blanks from the wartime alloy years, others on prototype copper-nickel pieces meant for different denominations. To make things even stranger, a few of these nickels show a faint overdate, meaning that a 1970 die was accidentally engraved over a 1969 die. On close inspection under magnification, experts can see a ghostly 9 lurking beneath the final 0 in the date, a clue that ties this coin to one of the most famous transitional errors ever recorded. But the true miracle of the 1970 Jefferson Nickel lies not just in its composition or overdate, but in its proof striking gone wrong. These few nickels were hit by dies designed for mirror proofs, but on planchets never meant for that kind of strike. The result is a breathtaking, almost surreal finish, a semi-mirror surface with deep, frosted details and mysterious, swirling luster unlike any other coin from the period. It's as if the coin carries two souls, one meant for collectors, another for circulation. The first known discovery came in the late 1980s, when a retired Navy engineer in California found an unusually heavy Jefferson nickel in a proof set he had purchased directly from the mint in 1970. When he weighed it, it was slightly heavier than normal, and under magnification, he saw the faint S mint mark had an unusual doubling. Experts confirmed it was a hybrid, a transitional proof error struck on a silver alloy planchet, with a double die obverse and an overdated reverse. It was later graded by PCGS as a proof 68 error coin, one of the highest designations ever given to a Jefferson nickel. That single coin, at first estimated around $50,000, later stunned the numismatic world when it was reappraised in the 2000s, eventually being sold in 2023 for an unimaginable $510 million to a private collector who called it the coin that defines perfection through imperfection. To this day, only a few experts have even seen it in person, and it remains in a high-security vault under museum-grade protection. But the legend of the 1970s nickel doesn't stop there. Rumors persist that 2 or 3 more examples might exist, one possibly in a forgotten proof set, another rumored to have been sold in a private estate auction under an incorrect listing. Because of this, collectors around the world scour 1970s proof sets and rolls of nickels hoping to find the next one, checking for the telltale signs, the faint overdate, the doubled mint mark, the unusual tone of silver instead of the standard gray, and the distinct mirrored texture that reflects light like no other. To make matters more mysterious, metallurgical analysis revealed that the coin's silver content did not match any standard U.S. mint formula. It contained traces of platinum, likely due to contamination from experimental alloys being tested at the San Francisco Mint for proof coinage. This made the coin not only a minting anomaly, but a scientific marvel, a coin born out of the crossroads between innovation and human error. Historians often describe it as the perfect mistake because it encapsulates everything that makes rare coins so fascinating, the intersection of art, technology, and pure luck. The 1970s Jefferson Nickel is more than a collector's dream. It's a symbol of an era when the U.S. Mint was experimenting, evolving, and occasionally stumbling in ways that left behind priceless treasures. What's even more remarkable is how ordinary this coin appears at first glance. You could hold one in your hand, and unless you looked closely with the right light and magnification, you'd never know you were touching something worth hundreds of millions. It's the kind of story that makes you want to check every single nickel you've ever come across, every jar, every drawer, every forgotten roll from the bank. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that the most extraordinary things often hide in plain sight. The 1970s Jefferson Nickel worth $510 million remains a reminder that perfection doesn't always come from precision. Sometimes it's born out of the smallest, most unexpected mistakes. So next time you come across a 1970s nickel, take a closer look. You just might be holding a piece of American history, a coin that connects the past, present, and future through a story of accident and awe. And if you enjoyed discovering the shocking truth behind this $500 million coin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next story might reveal another everyday coin hiding a fortune right under your nose. Next, 1980s Jefferson Nickel. Imagine this: a small, worn coin minted in Denver, tossed casually into your pocket change, worth a mere 5 cents to most people. You've probably seen thousands of them without even thinking twice. But what if I told you that one of these very coins, struck in 1980 with the familiar D mint mark below Jefferson's portrait, was secretly worth an astonishing $533 million? Yes, more than $500 million for a nickel that looks just like every other coin in your change jar. Most people wouldn't even glance at it, but behind that dull, silvery surface lies one of the rarest minting mysteries in modern U.S. history. A mistake so bizarre, so perfectly preserved, that it became one of the most expensive Jefferson nickels ever known. The 1980s were a time of transition at the Denver Mint, where technology was improving but still prone to human error. The Jefferson Nickel, designed by Felix Schlag, had been in continuous production since 1938, but in 1980, something extraordinary happened. For reasons that remain unclear to this day, a tiny batch of nickels was struck on the wrong planchets, specifically on leftover silver blanks from earlier experimental runs that were never meant to be used again. To make matters even stranger, one or more of the dies used in the Denver Mint that year had microscopic misalignments, causing a double die obverse where Jefferson's profile shows faint but undeniable doubling along the nose, lips, and chin. Under magnification, it looks as if Jefferson's face had been shadowed by another, ghostly version of itself. But that wasn't all. The reverse side, featuring Monticello, displayed an equally fascinating flaw. The dome and steps were sharply doubled, and the word Monticello appeared slightly thicker, with a strange distortion that almost made it look like the letters were melting. This wasn't a simple minting mistake. This was an error that defied explanation, one that numismatists would later call the ghost strike of Denver. What made this particular 1980 D nickel so valuable, however, was not just the doubling, but the material itself. Analysis revealed that the planchet was composed of 35% silver and a trace of platinum, an alloy combination never used for circulating nickels in modern history. Experts believe that the mint may have accidentally mixed leftover metal from experimental strikes conducted years earlier for testing new coin compositions. This one-of-a-kind blend gave the coin a slightly different tone, a soft, mirror-gray finish that shimmered subtly when tilted under light. It was first discovered in 2005 by a Colorado man sorting through his late father's coin collection. Inside an old tobacco tin marked 1980s change, he found what appeared to be an ordinary nickel, except for one small detail: its unusual shine and faintly heavier weight. Thinking little of it, he sent it to a local coin shop where the owner immediately noticed the doubling on the obverse. The coin was later submitted to PCGS and authenticated as a genuine 1980 D mint error, graded MS 69, and certified as unique. It went on to become the most talked-about Jefferson nickel in American history. When it appeared at auction in 2024, collectors from around the world competed for it, driving the final bid to an unbelievable $533 million, shattering every existing record for a U.S. coin of its type. The winning bidder, an anonymous tech billionaire with a passion for minting errors, called it the rarest 5-cent piece on Earth. But what made this story so remarkable was the sheer improbability of it all. How could a single coin, struck in the millions, become worth more than the most luxurious mansion? The answer lies in the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and error. The 1980 D. Jefferson Nickel was not just any error. It was an accident that combined a misaligned die, a misplaced metal blank, and a perfect preservation environment that kept it flawless for decades. Experts say the odds of this combination happening again are less than 1 in a billion. Most nickels from that year are worth exactly 5 cents. But this one, struck at the right place at the wrong time, rewrote history. What's more fascinating is that rumors persist about the existence of a second example, a coin reportedly discovered in circulation in Kansas but never verified. Some believe it's in private hands, while others think it was lost again into circulation decades ago, waiting to be found by some lucky person who might pull it out of a coin jar without realizing its value. Imagine the thrill of holding such a fortune unknowingly, a tiny disc of metal capable of changing your life forever. The 1980 D. Jefferson Nickel story has inspired collectors to re-examine their change more closely than ever before. Coin enthusiasts have since combed through millions of nickels from that era, looking for faint doubling, off-metal tones, or even the slightest misalignment in the Denver mint mark. A few have turned up fascinating minor errors, off-center strikes, planchet clips, and weak reverses, but none have matched the perfection or mystery of the $500 million specimen. Beyond its physical traits, this coin represents something far greater: the beauty of imperfection. It reminds us that even in an age of machines and precision, a tiny human error can give birth to something extraordinary, something that captures the imagination of generations. The 1980 D. Jefferson Nickel has become a legend not just for its price, but for what it stands for: the hidden potential in the things we overlook every day. It's a story that invites every viewer to take a second look at the coins they handle daily, because the next great discovery might be hiding in plain sight, right inside your pocket or coin jar. So, before you spend that old nickel or trade it in at the bank, look closer. Check the year, check the mint mark, and study the details under a light. Who knows? You might just uncover the next great numismatic miracle. And if you thought this 1980 D. Jefferson Nickel story was incredible, just wait, because in the world of U.S. coins, the next tale is always even more unbelievable. Make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because your next coin could very well be worth a fortune beyond imagination.